Okay, let's jump right into this explainer by doing a really quick sensory simulation. Just close your eyes for a second. Imagine a ticking clock right next to your ear, the harsh glare of bright fluorescent lights right above you, and the constant chaotic hum of an open-plan office. Now notice how your body reacts to that. For a lot of people, well, it's just background noise. But for others, it feels like an absolute physical assault. So why is it that some people completely wither in the exact same environment where others thrive? What's really fascinating here is that modern psychology shows this isn't a choice. It's not about someone just being too sensitive or overthinking things, the stuff we usually joke about. Actually, it's a very real biological nervous system wiring that completely changes how you process the world around you. Your brain is literally taking in every piece of information with a much, much stronger intensity. Section 1. The Orchid and Dandelion, A Tale of Two Nervous Systems. To really unpack this, we're going to use psychologist Jay Belsky's brilliant paradox. Check out our two stickman characters here. On the left, we've got the blocky, tough dandelion. This represents the vast majority of people. They can handle the wind, the weather, the noise. They're highly resilient and can grow pretty much anywhere, even if the environment is far from perfect. But over on the right, we have the highly expressive, highly sensitive orchid. Now, if you put an orchid in a harsh, high-pressure environment lacking empathy, it's going to wither incredibly fast. But, and this is the absolute game changer, if you place them in the exact right conditions, that orchid blooms into something so spectacularly beautiful that the dandelion simply can never match it. Section 2, Why the Orchid Withers, the Overloaded System. Let's look at why the orchid system gets so easily drained by daily life, starting with what's known as the thalamus gatekeeper. For most dandelion-type folks, this gatekeeper is incredibly efficient. It just mutes background noise, it tells your brain, hey, ignore that humming air conditioner and just focus on the person talking to you. But for the orchid, this gatekeeper is essentially fast asleep at the wheel. It's not filtering much of anything. The crucial point here is that every single stimulus hits our orchid stick man at maximum volume, all at the exact same time. The coworker chewing gum, the clocking of keyboards, that strong perfume nearby, the car horns outside, it all rushes in at once. And this causes a very real physical overload. It's exactly why after a long day, an orchid doesn't want to go to a loud, crowded bar to unwind. They have a desperate biological need to just retreat to a dark, quiet room to power down. And that brilliantly illustrates another layer of their sensitivity, the mirror neuron system. This right here is why orchids are absolute emotional sponges. When they see pain, say a stranger's tragedy while scrolling on TikTok, they don't just feel bad for them. The pain processing area in their own brain literally lights up. They're simulating that other person's physical and emotional state inside themselves. They empathize not just with their mind, but with their whole physical body. Section 3, the deep processing supercomputer, scanning the unseen. But orchids aren't just passively absorbing all this emotional data, they are calculating. They act as constant nonverbal scanners, deeply analyzing everyone around them. Let's break down how they process communication. Back in 1971, psychologist Albert Maharbian revealed a stunning stat about how we communicate emotion. He found that words, the very things we use to hide our true feelings, only make up 7% of our emotional communication. Most people just hear that 7% and move on with their day. Then, we've got 38% coming from tone of voice. Our deep feeler is picking up on this instantly. They hear the swallowed sighs, the shaky pitch, or that slight hesitation that completely contradicts the words coming out of your mouth. And a massive 55% is body language, meaning our orchid is processing 93% of the hidden truth that the rest of the room is completely missing. They're catching micro-expressions, those tiny facial twitches, in less than 1/15 of a second. Their brain immediately flags it like, error, data does not match the words. Because their brain is quite literally a supercomputer running deep analysis software. Forcing an orchid to multitask under time pressure is just a terrible idea. You can see exactly what happens in this visual sequence. If you give them 3 tasks and a ticking clock, their deep train of thought instantly derails. That pressure creates a massive cortisol spike, causing them to just completely freeze. They need quiet. They need time to sink to the bottom of a problem to produce their perfect, high-quality work. Section 4. The danger of conflict, when survival instincts kick in. This intense, deep processing also explains a lot about how they handle relationships and why our delicate orchid stickman is almost always the most peace-loving person in the room. To an orchid, an argument isn't just a social disagreement. Thanks to a phenomenon called amygdala hijacking, their brain connects social disharmony directly to a physical survival threat. During a loud argument or harsh criticism, their mind goes completely blank. Adrenaline floods their system, and they get pushed right into a fawn response, where they will quickly apologize and take the blame just to extinguish the terrifying danger of conflict. Which brings us to a really heartbreaking reality. Neuroscience shows the brain processes social rejection in the exact same neural area as physical pain. This explains the whole can't say no disease. Orchids will sacrifice their own boundaries, work when they're totally exhausted, and say yes to things they hate. Saying yes is actually a defense mechanism, a quick painkiller to avoid the physical ache of disappointing someone else. Section 5. How the orchid blooms, the evolutionary advantage. Okay, so if it's all sensory traps, amygdala hijackings, and total exhaustion, you might be sitting there thinking, wow, nature made a huge mistake with these people. But hold on. Let's look at the incredible superpowers this exact same nervous system provides. Introducing Vantage Sensitivity. If your nervous system is wired to amplify pain, it is also wired to amplify joy. While a dandelion might look at a beautiful sunset and just think, oh, that's nice, an orchid experiences it in billions of vibrant shades. They can stand in front of a painting and literally cry, or feel electric waves, actual physical chills running down their spine from a beautiful piece of music. Evolutionarily speaking, human tribes absolutely needed orchids to survive. They were the watchers of the tribe. Think about it. If everyone was a tough, unbothered dandelion, no one would have sensed the subtle changes in the weather, noticed the poisoned water, or spotted the hidden dangers rustling in the bushes. The world needed, and for sure still needs, people who feel and notice everything. Section 6. Thriving in a dandelion world. Mastering your environment. Now that we deeply understand the wiring, how does an orchid actually survive and thrive in a loud, fast-paced modern world that was clearly designed for dandelions? Well, first things first, if you relate to this at all, validate yourself with this powerful statistic. Up to 20% of the global population shares this highly sensitive wiring. You are not broken. You are not alone. You're simply part of a vital, quiet tribe that processes the world on a totally different frequency. To truly master this superpower, you need to follow these 3 rules for orchid survival. First, set boundaries. Treat your energy like a limited bank account and stop letting everyone make unauthorized withdrawals, right? Second, accept solitude. Don't feel guilty for needing to be alone. That is your allostatic load reduction. It's your biologically necessary time to clear out built-up cortisol. And third, use beauty. Actively seek out art and nature to balance the emotional toxins you absorb every single day. These 3 steps are your emergency care toolkit. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Sensitivity isn't a defect to be fixed. It is a profound privilege when it's planted in the right soil. So whether you're thinking about yourself, your partner, or your coworker, which flower have you been trying to be? And are you forcing an orchid to endure the rough winds of a dandelion's world? Take a moment to really... Okay, let's